Okay, we're now going to go to 13.0, which is new business, and we're going to have first reading on policy GCK-R, professional staff assignments and transfers. And board, this is for your information only, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Stacy.
Thank you, Chair and board members. I'll bring to you tonight first reading for GCK-R, professional staff assignments and transfers. And basically what we've done is just updated this policy to reflect the South Carolina School Board Association model policy. And then really the gist of this is the rule, GCK-R, and that's to make the electronic transfer process, use an electronic transfer process instead of paper. In the past, we just had an HR form they filled out to make it happen, and now we can do it online. So that's the gist of the changes there.
Okay, thank you. Board, are there any questions or comments regarding that first reading?
I've just got a couple comments. I'll email these to you like I did last time, but GCK draft 17, I guess that's the School Board Association markup. In that, second paragraph or first paragraph under assignment, reassignment,
Yes, ma'am.
the second sentence, the superintendent or his or her designee is authorized to reassign all personnel in the best interest of the district. An employee may be reassigned prior to the start of the school year. That's repeated again a couple paragraphs down, where it says, as indicated above, an employee may be reassigned. And then a couple sentences down, it says the superintendent is authorized to reassign personnel. So I didn't know if that was on purpose or not. Like I said, I'll email it to you.
Yeah, I think it is on, I think that just looking at it quickly, the second one where it says as indicated above, I think because it's talking about August 15th, because we have to let certified teachers know by August 15th where their placement is, but then there could be a shift based on enrollment changes. And so we might, like we have an overabundance of teachers at one grade level, and we may need to move them to another school to another grade level because of increased enrollment. That might be why it's said again, just to make sure that it reemphasizes that the superintendent does have the right to assign them at any time during the school year.
Okay. And GCKR, an employee must have been employed in his or her present position for 3 years to be eligible to request a transfer?
We haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, okay,
Let's
sorry.
wait just a minute. Okay, anything else on, excuse me, maybe, were you doing GCKR? I'm sorry, I thought you said GCOR.
Yes, GCKR.
Okay, no, continue on. I apologize, that was my mistake.
Okay, 3 years to be eligible for a transfer. Why 3 years?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because we've actually talked with our principals just recently about that transfer policy. What we've really done is to try to protect areas like Gilbert and Pillion, which are a little bit farther removed from Lexington, and we get employees that would accept positions, say in Pillion, and then the next year, once they got in our district, they're transferring to another school closer into the Lexington area. And so I think that policy really is in place to try to protect those schools out there, because if you're changing every single year staff, there's a buy-in curve, an onboarding curve. If you're doing a particular initiative with your staff and you've trained them this year and then next year they leave, the person that comes in and replaces them, you got to do it again. And so and we asked the principals if we want to continue that practice, and they agreed that they would want to keep that 3-year play in play.
Okay, do we have any numbers? Like, what happens if they just say, well, if you're not going to let me transfer, I'm going to transfer to a different district? Like, do you keep any numbers on anything like that?
We could probably draw some data, but I mean, that has happened. We've had people that, decide they want to go to another district. But I can try to pull the numbers for you.
I mean, it's okay. I was just wondering, like, do you see that happen often enough that
Not
might be something we need to
not
look at?
often, because typically, I mean, we are fortunate to be in Lexington. One, people want to get into our district, and that the teacher recruitment fair just in January, as a side, it was amazing the number of teachers that came to that fair that left our district, went to a neighboring district, and now are wanting to come back. The grass always looks greener on the other side, and so. Again, that was one of the reasons we talked with the principals about that particular policy, because what happens is that, and we've talked to principals about looking out for their colleagues too, because we have May 10th as our transfer deadline. That's when contracts are due back in. And last year we had May 30th as the in-district transfer deadline. So at May 10th, you couldn't get from another district, and then you had 20 days, and we had people moving, shifting and it really hurt some of those schools on the outside. We said, that's not really fair to those principals we need to, or those schools, or the students in those schools. And so that's why it's there.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
And Mr. Stacy, I presume when these teachers start at whatever school they're assigned, they're aware of that policy.
Yes.
So it's not a surprise to them, and
Right.
they take the job with the understanding of that.
That's right.
I think that's pretty common even in the private industry, because when places I've worked, there's always been a requirement for how long you have to stay in that initial job. Because, do you have it at the hospital?
We do it at the hospital
Yeah,
because we
do.
train, and so if you leave prior, you have to
Yeah,
pay
we
back
did it
the
at
training.
Colonial
Yeah.
Life too, because you sure didn't want to lose them after you invested all that time and money in them.